Do you expect the normal meta that we see in NA, or are you thinking that it's going to be something a little bit different?
It's going to be tough to say now. The map does say Blackheart's Bay. That is actually incorrect. It will be Sky Temple. I'm just going to let the players know. Disregard the map.
Yeah, we don't want them picking and banning based around the map and then have to redo it all over again. And will they be going by the two ban system? Is that correct?
This is the two-ban system, yes. The entire tournament will use the double ban process. Essentially, there is ban. We're going to see the first ban on Hurricane, then it will be a ban for Murky. Hurricane will get first pick, followed by two from Murky Free Week, and then two more for Hurricane. Then both teams get one more ban.
Do you think they're going to pick Murky? Oh,
I,
well, yeah, yeah. I mean, like throughout the series, even. I mean, is it just like a troll name? I
I
feel like
hope
you have to. You have to at
their
least
name is
once.
Murky Free Week, man.
Yeah.
They're going to let everyone down if they don't pick a Murky, but the bans right now are actually quite. They cover a lot of different options. Now, Illidan, just a strong hero in general, but Brightwing, she is the key element to a lot of these promote compositions. Very strong healer in general. Murky Free Week might be looking to monopolize Uther very early in the draft.
Hmm. And strong pick, a Nubarak, just not really anything unusual, just like a strong standard pick. You can't really see a team forming around that pick yet. And we're seeing Zertul more and more often, actually. And you see it here as well.
Yeah, Zeratul is the kind of hero that he's kind of like the Sentry in StarCraft 2. I'm going to make a lot of StarCraft 2 references today, where Sentries, you can flat out win fights just with good force fields.
Hmm.
Void Prison can flat out win fights with a good VP because you can then just set up because there's not really a response to it. It just controls that area, it controls that space, and it allows you to set up. And big VPs can win or absolutely lose a team fight.
Yeah, and we saw that a lot last night, as you were talking about with the ESL match. But it's such a good ult, I feel, because if you hit, let's say you hit three or four members, or there's one or two members that are, outside the ult, they can't take a fight. And at the same time, if they run into the void poison themselves, you're just setting up for all the AoE that can come down. You're basically a golf ball getting ready to be teed off on because everybody's just sitting there in a small area,
Yeah.
and the other team can just lay everything down, spread out, and get into position.
Yeah, that's a great thing to point out, but let's talk about the various options that do exist. So Gazlowe is going to be banned out. That is definitely
Interesting.
interesting. It's a first,
Well, we'll say interesting. We'll leave it at that.
but it could be a throwaway. They might say, "Oh, we don't actually know what we want to ban here. There's nothing that we're actually really afraid of. So let's just kind of
Mhm.
throw the Gazlowe ban out." Because one thing that we have seen a lot of is Zeratul Abathur, and Kael'thas will be banned by Hurricane. But Murky Free Week, if they're confident in Abathur play, he would be brilliant for this team right now.
Yeah, it just adds a lot of potential. Zertul's already a hero that does a lot of damage in a short amount of time, and we get what, Chen and Kerrigan. That's interesting. I was expecting the Kerrigan, but not really the Chen. What do you think they're going for there?
I mean, this is a triple melee composition right now, but what they have is a ton of body block potential. Zeratul can blink past you. Chen can dive over you and get in your face. Meanwhile, Kerrigan will pull you all in with the Primal Grasp. To initiate that is very difficult to do, but the potential is there.
If you set it up correctly. I mean, I love Vala here for Hurricane personally. I mean, I'm a big Vala player myself, and then we get Diablo as well, and a Falstad.
All
So
right.
what? It seems like Hurricane's going to be wanting to stay at range, set up their front line, have everybody behind, and they need to protect Falstad and Vala basically to deal that damage. Where Murky's going to want to really, really get on top and get in the faces of Hurricane.
Do they
Uh,
go Murky? This would be a 5 melee hero
I
composition
I don't
if
think
they
they
go
can.
Murky.
They would be so deep in like every engage.
Oh, okay, they're going
Okay,
Sylvanas.
Sylvanas.
That's
Okay,
actually a
that makes
really good
sense.
pickup here because Sylvanas is, I mean, the Wailing Arrow. When you already have this composition where you're looking to really get in their face,
Mhm.
silencing them and then having that aggression, the safety for that aggression is huge. It's going to be very interesting. Diablo will be played very much as a bruiser. We should see more of a Fire Stomp build out of Diablo, just maximizing the damage output. In Anubarak, even though he is also a warrior, he does have very high damage potential.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously, I feel like it's going to be on Murky to really get in there and set up the engages. And if they don't, then they're just going to get kited for days from the false start and the Vala. We saw a lot of really good Falstad ults last night, actually, with Tempo Storm. I was watching those games. So it'll be interesting if we can see that same play in these, what you would consider, I guess, slightly lesser skilled teams.
Yeah, these are definitely like newer teams. We haven't seen them in these tournaments. The game did in fact just launch, so we expect a lot of teams to be maybe this is likely their first tournament. This is their first time using this draft tool. We know that much. And it's cool because we're seeing diversity, which is going to
Yeah.
be a lot of fun to see how these compositions actually work out.
And you never know, like, this could change the meta in some ways. Like, just because these teams aren't those high profile teams doesn't mean that what they're doing doesn't work. The game is still in a very young stage. Not everything is figured out. And that's what's most exciting about something like this is we're seeing a lot of opportunities from these teams. And you don't know who's going to come up and might upset a lot of the stronger teams. And
Totally. And there's so many players that have experience with other games, whether they're coming from StarCraft or something similar.
other
Talent
MOBAs, whatever.
exists. Yeah, talent exists, and we're gonna see cool things happen, big plays for sure. And who knows what kind of talent we could discover today, Huck.
Yeah, and it's more about these players not being uncomfortable. I feel like if you go into a match, especially in something that is like Blizz Heroes, and you play too scared or you don't play your game, you're not going to do as well as if you just go ham. You know, you got to play
You gotta
like
go
this.
ham.
Yeah, you gotta play like you're comfortable, you're confident in your character, you're confident in your team, and if you play too nervous, too scared, you're gonna let the game slip out of your hands. So I'm hoping that these guys are gonna bring that A game today.
Well, the first match of this best of three series is going to be on Sky Temple. The teams, Murky Free Week and the Hurricane. Can Murky withstand the Hurricane?
Uh, I hope so, but I don't know. It's gonna be hard. I mean, Murky's got to really go. I mean, I guess their team comp kind of plays into Murky. You're just gonna get in there and you're gonna keep throwing yourself at
It's
them, and
true.
hopefully something sticks.
Is Murky not free this week, so they couldn't play him? That must explain it.
Yeah, that must be it. I'm sure. So, what do you think about Sky Temple in general as a map? Do you think their composition, like the Malie
Actually,
composition, plays into it a lot or not?
I do. This is a map where the entry points to the temples is very small and narrow, and when you can have Zeratul and Shen getting over someone as they first enter that temple, you get
Mhm.
behind them, you force them in. You're being forced into Kerrigan and a whole lot of nope, and that is not something you really want to be faced with.
This is going to be very interesting, to say the least. How do you think these lanes are going to play out? Are we going to see like a 3-1-1, a lot of roaming? I mean, obviously both teams want to soak, until those temples come up at least. And it's so important, in my opinion, to get that watchtower control in the middle of the map so they can see, when that first and second temple come up.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what we'll see. We'll find out in just a moment. Let's introduce the teams very quickly. On the blue side, it's going to be Mouse playing as Anu Barak. We see Layden on Diablo, the double warrior composition. That's going to be Vala played by, we're going to call him Ross. Trippy playing as Rhaegar, and in the bottom lane, that is The Voice on Falstad.
What a beautiful name, The Voice. Sounds like a broadcaster, you know?
I'd name myself that.
Yeah, The Voice. Both sides kind of just jockeying for position here, staying in those bushes, staying hidden. Getting a early pick is nice. It's not a huge deal, but at the same time, you always want to, get that leg up and the psychological advantage of going into it and being willing to take that risk and, be ahead. We should expect the Zeratul to kind of rotate between lanes for Murky on this end, but for right now, we got the 2 top versus the 1 top, and then a 2v3 situation set up in the middle lane.
Yeah, pretty standard stuff considering that the watchtower is there. With the blue team having the watchtower, we do see Zeratul will go in there and try to take that away. iPro's going to do the best, just kind of maintain that vision so that he can rotate safely. And we do see us moving down, but only pulling Diablo in. That's not really a target that they are going to try to eliminate quickly.
Yeah, Chen's kind of low. I mean, he's got his drink he's getting on here, but yeah, it's so hard to gain a character like Chen. Even a 3v3 situation, bringing him down a little bit, he's not really that scared. And the first temples are going to come up in a few seconds, and we're going to really see the game start to take form and see who's going to be the aggressor here and how much people are going to be committed to getting these temples, or they're just going to trade one temple for another. And
Yeah,
it seems like that's what's going to happen here.
I'm very happy about this aggressive rotation by Murky, because they just went up to this top lane and they bullied them back. Now, Sky Temple, the way the map works is you control these temples that spawn at 3 locations in the map, but at this phase in the game, it's only going to be the middle and top. They siege up enemy fortifications if you do control them, and you can see the siege damage is significant. But the big thing that's in favor of Murky at this point in time is the fact that Sylvanas is pushing by herself behind enemy lines and really starting to take down the towers in the bottom lane.
Yeah, and not only that, she's as well soaking. I mean, Murky's soaking lanes better. And they still have temple control, and they might lose it. I mean, they obviously have to give this up. Oh, a kill almost going down. A Numerak doing the slide, getting out barely, and having to give up that temple control while still maintaining, you know, lane control and soaking it. As you can see, that's already paying off with a level 5 against a level 4.
Yeah, not only that, but they bullied them off the middle temple. They did manage to take down Diablo, and they did get the final shots coming out. And there goes Falstad as well. Murky really dominant in the first half of the game, and Sylvanas is still pushing and soaking that bottom lane.
Yeah, it's just so important that they could hold the top with only, what, 2 or 3 members, and then still soaking the middle and bottom lanes when the other team had to commit 5 members to 1 point. I feel like it was a kind of a misrotation by the blue team.
Yeah, a little bit, but Falstad will fly down to the bottom lane just to force Sylvanas back, but the damage has been done. The wall, the wow, all have been removed, and the experience speaks for itself. More than a level lead for Murky already at the 3-minute marker.
Yeah, and they're just continuing to control the map. It seems like they have the tempo to keep pushing. Sylvanas is such a strong character in lane, and she's going to rotate, actually, and switch to top. She already got the bottom gate down, so really committing to taking down another fort or something, kind of problematic, and they're already going to start doing, what, their pseudo knights on this map.
Yeah, those bruisers do really have a lot of push potential, especially early on, and that's the power of Sylvanas. She locks down minions, mercenaries, and structures with her trait Black Arrow, and by taking out these bruisers so early, I mean, that's just extra presence that blue team has to respond to.
And if they push with this, or wait, are they saving the cap? That's very interesting. They done the Merc, it's ready to be capped, but they're going to save it. I assume when Temple comes up, they're going to go recap that. So kind of splitting the choices, making it harder on their opponents. You know, do we defend our top base, or do we go to the Sky Temple to try to, you know, negate that fact?
It's really interesting to think that. Now, it takes 2 full minutes when the temples first dissipate for the next temples to spawn. So it's going to be a fair amount of time before those bruisers are going to be taken, but that is the exact idea they have, unless they decide they want to pair it. But yeah, they're going to go for them. Now we see Uther making his way over to those bruisers on his rotation down. This is going to give them a really nice timing window and just so much pressure across the map.
Yeah, Murky seems to be really well coordinated. It seems like they've actually thought this out a lot in practice for this a lot. They're already set up at bottom. They're all rotating down. I mean, this is going to be really hard with that full melee comp. They're just getting on top of them. It doesn't seem like they can defend this point. Chen's right on top of Diablo. Diablo falls down.
Chen has no fear, just going in his face, and the damage coming out with a double Envenom on Numerak. He falls very quickly. Trippy ultimately getting eliminated as well, and then Rostin, last but not least, will end up falling to Sylvanas.
That's a full wipe here. And then on top of that, like I said, they have their Bruiser camp pushing in the north. They're breaking the fort at the bottom, and they're still 5-man strong. They're up over 2 levels, and they're going to go for the boss. I feel like if they get this boss, I mean, it's just going to be such a strong push. And it's just, as soon as they get 10, it's just going to keep snowballing, and they can keep getting engages.
Yeah, they just have so much pressure on the map, it's actually kind of insane. All 4 of them will get stomped by the boss. Not ideal. Fortunately, though, there is no rotation, as the blue team is currently taking care of those bruisers in the top lane. After cleaning that up, taking a lot of structural damage, they will have to rotate down to defend both the Giants and the boss.
And level 10. I mean, it's just really scary as a team to be down 2 levels already, and on top of that, to get that power spike from level 10 pretty much means that unless you take a very favorable engage, you're just gonna lose out. So they should bide their time and try to just starve out until 10. And it looks like a Numerak might actually die in the top lane as well.
Yeah, he's being bullied back.
He gets back, but they're gonna lose this fort, especially since they have to defend the bottom boss.
And they're taking this time to take these bruisers, which will in fact keep the red team busy in the top lane, but they're not defending the boss as quickly as they could have. But actually, the boss is quite weak this early in the game, apparently, as he didn't even take down that middle wall.
Yeah, very surprising. We got 5 members strong here from Murky. With the Sylvanas, it's just always, there's always push potentials with that lockdown ability, as you were talking about earlier. Blue team just really needs to hold on, bar down the doors, hold on to the hinges, and just hope that they can get to level 10 and try to get good engages. Because at this point, it's just way too hard from a level 9 standpoint to go up against a team that already has their ultimates.
It is. I mean, 9 to 11, but they are very close to 10. They want their heroics, but they have to worry about the Storm, Earth, and Fire, also known as Panda Pals, and then we do have VP, Wailing Arrow, Divine Shield, and Maelstrom, but level 10 has been reached for the blue team.
They might go for engage here. Diablo taking one member and throwing him in. The engage is just too strong. Falstad pushing good members of Murky back as their cocoon goes down.
That was a massive Mighty Gust. I can't believe Diablo stayed alive, but no, Anubarak is not going to.
VP.
And although a pot goes down, that VP has absolutely everyone inside. Where is the response? Do they have the AoE? The voice is falling, and he is getting quite low. Oh, Chen just dashing forward does eliminate Falstad.
No fear. He knows he has that second life. He's not too worried. And that's just the strength of the whole team composition from Murky. I feel like once you get so far ahead, having that ability to get on top of the blue team, even underneath their own buildings, it's, they're just unafraid. They're playing without that fear that I was speaking of earlier, and it's really showing through in their play.
I just gotta say that was probably like the clutchest Mighty Gust Ancestral Heal I've ever seen. So we don't get to see enough Mighty Gust in competitive play, but that was actually really fun to see. But temples are up, bottom one being held by the red team, and we do see the blue team. Hurricane is capturing the top lane, and considering their name's Hurricane, Mighty Gust is probably the most appropriate.
I was just thinking about that. Yeah, I mean it was a really good gust. It's just the VP, everything coming down. I think a lot of the damage going down on Anubarak. I mean, Anubarak did his job. He got in there. He hit every spell that he could. He stunned a lot of the members, but all in all, you need your backline to really tee off, and it didn't seem like Bella and Falstad were getting the damage that they necessarily needed.
Yeah, definitely didn't have as much as they could have liked, especially not having that Hinterlands Blast. It makes it quite tough, but the top temple was controlled here by Hurricane, so that will give them a fair amount of structural damage to the top lane, just barely not getting the first fort.
Yeah, they're behind 3 levels almost at this point, but trading top for bottom there was the best case. Really like Hurricane's decision. And they're still a little bit behind, but they can come back. They gotta get on an even terms power spike wise, make sure they're not a talent down, and then try to once again take an engage that isn't so unfavorable.
And they're starting to realize that they need to split up a little bit more, soak the map a little bit better. We do see Falstad is alone in the bottom lane, so having that extra lane of soak will help them catch up relatively quickly, and removing these giants absolutely crucial right now.
Yeah, Falstad definitely being the highest damage dealer for Hurricane this round so far, so they got to look to him to really set up engages. I mean, amazing gust, but he needs to really pile it in there. And, it's just really hard to prioritize any members of Murky when they have this strong, look at this melee comp. They're just getting in there, and all they have is Sylvanas in the back teeing off, and she's uncontested, unthreatened throughout every single engagement, where Hurricane's back members, that Vala, that Falstad, are completely frightened. They're constantly hesitating, they're not auto-attacking as much, and they're not landing as many quality spells.
It's true, but they're making the best out of this by keeping in the backline, but Vala needs to be careful with this rotation. Kerrigan is there in her face, and the vault will not even be needed. The Primal Grass just barely missing.
Yeah. And Vala was really confident. I think I would have vaulted there personally. It was a little scary. But, Murky's just taking the Bruiser Camp right in their face. They know they just can't do anything at this moment. They're just trying to hold on. Vala vaulting away, barely escaping, Kerrigan diving in again, and they're just pushing really hard. They got this Bruiser Camp, they have Sylvanas locking down these towers.
Yeah, and the Strafe is forced out. Double Bruiser Camp with Sylvanas, like you mentioned, just shutting down the structure. The damage is there, and the pressure is very, very real right now. They need to defend this, and 2 temples are spawning.
Yeah, and on top of that, Murky just hit 16, so they're going to have another small power spike when they take this engage. Diablo trying to get in their faces, but to be honest, you just can't take a fight in the open. They need to pick a member. They need to find them out of position. They can't fight them head on head. It's just impossible at this point, in my view. Looks like they're looking for something here. Diablo's deep on the Sky Temple, and Anubarak misses his first 2 skills, and now it's just a really sloppy fight. Vala taken right in the middle. She's in the thick of it, and she's going to be immediately lit up and taken out, as well as Falstad's going to be taken out of this fight.
Well, that was a nice Apocalypse, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough. Only 3 members stand. Make that 2, make that 1, and we do see Trippy will get tripped up and eliminated. That will be a full temple controlled by the red team if they want it, but no, they just want to push for this middle keep.
Yeah, and they can do both at the same time. I mean, that engage, we're just seeing the front line of Hurricane totally dismembered. They have Vala basically in the middle of the fight. They have no people to tank in the front. It's just Murky's choices here, you know, being to get on top of everybody. That's what they want. They want chaos in a battle, and it's just not working out for them.
Yeah, so far not quite. Zeratul has that VP to peel for Chen just to make sure they do get out. Middle temple expending the final shots, and this bottom temple is being controlled by Kerrigan with still plenty of ammunition left. This bottom keep is also going to fall, and now just the top keep remains.
Yeah, and even the watchtower being really low there. This is just really hard. You're behind almost 4 levels now, and it seems like every engagement is just not going your way. I mean, at this point, if you're on comms, right, and you're Hurricane, what are you saying? I'll almost just saying, like, calm down, let's do our best this game, and then, like, let's focus on the next. They're going to try to take an engage here. It is 4v3, but 5v3 even. They get in there, they're getting on top of the Kerrigan, and they're throwing a lot of the members. Kerrigan actually goes down.
That's exactly what they need.
Could this be Hurricane's chance? Chen's still in the back, but he's not that big of a threat. They just got to kind of ignore him. Zertul's jumping on Vala. They need to keep Vala and Falstad alive.
Sylvanas is also quite low, but it doesn't look like they have the confidence. A big Mighty Gust to buy some time, but Nubrak will ultimately end up falling. iPros goes in, gets back out using that wormhole, and the voice is not looking like he's going to be speaking much longer, but no, he does have the dash. Layden will end up falling.
Yeah, it was a really close engage. Even Sylvanas almost going down. Zertul as well. They trade 1 for 1, and Zertul's just barely alive.
So each and every trade that they get right now, since they're down in experience, is incredibly beneficial. Even if they're just trading 3 for 2, that's actually really not all that bad. Their death timers are much shorter, and the experience does benefit them quite a bit. Nearly hitting level 16, the game it's not in a good spot. All 3 keeps are down, but it's not over yet.
And I don't really feel like Murky can commit to a full kill here as well, especially with the shorter death times, like you said. All in all, I feel like that was really good for Hurricane. I mean, they still have a pretty big hill to climb, but they're almost hitting 16. They just hit it, and now all of a sudden they're on the same talent gate. They need to get another engage in my eyes before 20. Because I feel like, you know, if Murky gets the 20, they get that upgraded level. They're just it's going to become just as difficult as it was a minute ago.
Can they contest
this? Yeah, but can they contest a 1 temple? You know, that really focuses the play. Murky's about to finish their bruiser camp. I mean, this is going to be make or break almost right here.
It is, but the one benefit is there's no level 20 yet on the side of Murky. Level 16 was reached by Hurricane, and they're looking to do a party bush. I like the positioning here, but no, they do show themselves to this middle lane because they need to keep those lanes pushed out. This is going to be do or die.
Sylvanas so close. They find her. If they could bring down Sylvanas.
Oh, but the heals are there. The Apocalypse is going to be enough to buy some time, but the Ancestral used rather preemptively by Rhaegar, but it looks like Trippy will fall.
Yeah, and Sylvanas is still going to get her chance to use the ult. Perfect timing. She comes back with low health, and she's just going to clean up here. Diablo being the only member alive, and they're on top of him. This should be game.
Yes, this will in fact be game. If they set on the middle temple, it would be enough. But we already see a single Siege Giant. We call them Chillwind Yetis. They're paired with some catapults. They are powering through the minions, and the GG does in fact come out.
Yeah, that last engage actually looked okay. If they could have picked off that Sylvanas, but she made it out with a sliver of health, and they wasted so much on her, and then she still came back, played that risky pick game, used her ult, and just cleaned up. Wow, that style Void Prism too.
Yeah,
just
she looks so good. I would buy a toy if that was like Kerrigan like that in a VP. Blizzard, sell me that.
Yeah, she looks cool. She looks nice.
That is totally not at all what I want to be showing the stream. There we go. That's Huck's beautiful face. Look at that Viking shirt. How did you?
I just got it today, actually.
Whoa.
So perfect timing. Perfect timing.
I want one.
You don't have one?
They sell it on the store?
Yeah.
Oh, that's new. That was BlizzCon exclusive for employees.
Well, I'm gonna have to hit you with the link, I guess, after this.
Okay, good. I'm looking forward to it. I'm gonna buy a Viking shirt, man.
Hey, my favorite hero, personally. And more importantly, do you think we're gonna see any Vikings today?
I certainly hope so, but the Vikings, of course, are the highest skill ceiling hero. Takes the most focus and most just actions per minute and map awareness to play them. So it's if we see a play, I'm going to be focused on them quite a bit because that's a sign of a good player if you're playing Vikings.
Yeah, and I think they would work really well for Murky. I mean, they got all these melee comp as is, getting another, strong face-to-face hero that just has a lot of damage and a lot of micro ability. I don't know. I think it'd be pretty strong, but it's going to be on Hurricane actually to kind of mix it up. I mean, their bans and picks were seemed okay, but I
Yeah.
feel when you fall behind dealing with a composition that Murky picked, it's just a lot harder to come back. I feel like if the roles were reversed and Murky was behind in the game and Hurricane was ahead, it wouldn't have been as difficult. But with such a strong front line, 4-1 members, if they get on top of you and they're already up, on levels, on talents, you're just gonna struggle too much.
It's tough. That's for sure. That's an understatement. Once you're down like that, just like you said, they have to make those big plays, and they were trying. They got close, and
They
with
had
the
yeah, Falstad had a lot of great ults. They had key moments, but the team, I mean, it came back from almost the early game, when they were up one level 4-5. It just seemed
true,
like Murky was soaking at the same time as taking objectives, where on Hurricane side, they were just focusing on the objectives and then still not being able to, get a lead in that way. They were even on objectives behind and soaking. And then, that kind of just kept going their way until the big engagement started happening. And then, by that time, if you got a bunch of melee heroes on top of Falstad, on top of Ella, you're always going to struggle.
and I'm just looking at their composition a little bit further. Diablo did in fact top the damage charts, which is might seem actually insane, but he is a little bit more of a bruiser here. But maybe they didn't have enough damage without the Hinterland Blast on Falstad because there were so many situations where they would get these huge apocalypse by Diablo that would hit almost the entire enemy team. And it seemed like they were in a line every time, and I'm just like, oh, here comes the sick Hinterland's Blast. But it's like, oh wait, he has Mighty
Yeah.
Gust, and he can't do it. And I think that would have helped them out quite a bit in that game. But they definitely have potential because they really understood how to make the kind of recover from positions that were bad, bring it back into the map. They were soaking in the later half of the game, and I think a lot of it's going to come down to what map they go to.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the Diablo pick, especially because it was, I think, what, second, third pick, maybe even fourth, it was a really smart pick. And just because of that ultimate, you're playing against all these melee heroes, they're going to be a lot more clumped up than if you had, let's say three melee heroes and two ranged.
Hmm.
Only having the one Sylvanas in the back and having to get your team on top of the other team, casting and using that ability, it's going to be a lot more likely to hit
True.
because of all those chaotic fights. So I really like that pick. But all in all, they need to really lock. I mean, Hurricane side needs to lock down the early game and make sure that they're not falling too far behind, so that their heroes like Falstad and like Vala can get the damage in and they can maintain that positional fight that they're looking for.
Well, guys, the map is going to be Tomb of the Spider Queen. We actually do have a lobby started here. Looks like we're just waiting on one player, and we'll have the draft going very soon. But I'm thinking about that last game where we saw Murky rocking the heavy melee composition. On this
Yeah,
map, that strives even further. This is like the strength of that kind of composition.
yeah, and this is where, maybe a little bit of that meta is changing. That we're seeing though that adaptability of maybe a lower skilled team than what we're used to seeing at the highest level, but at the same time they're coming up with new ways
Hmm.
to fit towards the map. And it's not like these guys are scrubs. They were very very coordinated. The way they
Oh
set up the
gosh.
bruisers,
Yeah.
the way they knew all the temple timings, they were moving, rotating. It seemed like they were really on point. I would expect Murky probably to go pretty far in this tournament if they can get past Hurricane here. It looks like we're just going to be going through the hopefully ban and pick phase soon enough.
Yep.
And I'm hoping to see something new at least out of Hurricane.
Okay, we're just waiting on one member. And yep, getting this all set up. So guys, be sure to follow Huck at Chris, and you can follow myself at SolidJakeGG and tweet at Blizz Heroes, letting us know What'd you think about Heroes of the Storm? The game, of course, only launched about a week ago, and there is going to be a series of these tournaments going on for the entire summer, really, the next several months. You're going to see these Road to BlizzCon broadcasts happening time and time again.
And it's likely we'll see a lot of these teams develop over that time. I'm really
Oh,
excited
yeah.
for that myself to see, let's say Murky does really well in this tournament, but they don't really get that first place. And then, to see them and these other qualifiers, developing, growing as a team. Or even, I mean, they could switch teams, we could see the same players, but, change teams, change members, and seeing all of these people over and over time as they work their way to BlizzCon. There's a lot of story in that, and there's a lot of growth and just development in the scene in general that can happen. Even I mean, even other teams, let's say like Evil Geniuses that are going to be playing tomorrow.
Oh,
Uh,
evil geniuses.
yeah,
Geniuses.
geniuses. Even them, they could be watching the broadcast today, thinking like, oh, I thought this player was really good, or I think this team did this really well, etc., etc.
Okay. Okay, it looks like we have a draft link coming in, so we'll be going in just a moment. This
And what map are we going to be playing?
it is going to be Tomb of the Spider Queen. Hold on, I'm just damage controlling. I think they used the wrong draft client. I don't want them to do this.
Who would you say is the favorite to make it out today, by the way?
For the entire tournament?
Well, yeah,
Well,
for this group we're covering.
yeah. Um, I'd have to look at the bracket again to really clarify that. But just to kind of speak to the tournament structure in general, essentially this is a 90-team tournament, so a 128-man bracket that will be single elimination until the round of 8. So pretty much this weekend we play till round of 8. 8 teams, which is what you're referring to, will
Mhm.
advance and play next week. And that's going to be an actual official Blizzard broadcast for an 8-team double elim broadcast.
Yeah, and that's where we're gonna see really the cream rise to the top. We're gonna see who really is the stronger teams from this weekend. But I mean, I feel like personally, Murky could make that top 8 cut. I feel like they're really well coordinated. Hurricane, from what they've shown that first game, they just got to pull together. I mean, I would love to like hop on a call with them and see where they at. That's what's interesting for me to see who's saying what their different positions are because I've been in a few group chats with a few teams and plugging those holes and figuring out as a team what works and what doesn't work is the most important.
Yeah.
And it's different when you're practicing on the ladder or you're scrimming with some friends and everything's going well. But it's a lot harder when you go up against an opponent that's equal or stronger than you, and all of a sudden just everything falls completely apart, and then you're like, okay, what do we do? Do we stick to the plan we already had that didn't work last game, or do we just scrap everything and come up with something new that we might have not practiced? But new map, new game, new fresh start. Hopefully they can pull it together.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we will see a very different approach to this next map. But the draft is actually just about to start, so we can swap over to that screen. And the map, in fact, is Tomb of the Spider Queen.
One of my favorite maps. I mean,
What is your favorite map?
um, huh. I like Dragonshire a lot. I'll say Dragonshire. I just like the way that it plays out with it's not such a time thing. You could have those shrines be up for 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, whatever, and it not necessarily will play out yet. So there's a lot more variables to think about than something like Sky Temple, where you kind of have this set time and you have these, once you're on it, it's gonna fire its shots and then be done. I that's why I would even prefer this map over Sky Temple, and then probably my least favorite being, of course, Haunted Mines. The dreaded Haunted
The
Mines.
dreaded Haunted Mines. I think most people would have to agree with you that Haunted Mines is probably their least favorite. But um,
Vala first pick again. That is interesting.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm all about Vala, man. I love me some Vala, but I wouldn't consider it a first pick type of material, would you say?
Not in the current meta, but the thing
Hmm.
about Vala is, especially for players that have played a lot less of the game, she's very easy to play at a high level compared to some of the other heroes. And I say that because she has an escape mechanism, whereas someone like Kael'thas or Jaina, you have to be
Hmm.
very, very proactive
Careful.
about making sure
Yeah.
you're in perfect positioning at all times. Vala has Vault, Falsehead has the dash, and that's why those ranged assassins are probably a safer pick in a lot of situations.
And do we have like we have a lot of mind games here, no? What this Hurricane banning out the Sylvanas.
That's smart.
Yeah, so taking away Murky's what strongest DPS hero from last game,
Right.
and then Murky picking Vala when that was Hurricane's pick
That was
last set. So they're kind of trying to pick what they feel was the biggest threat from the last game and either banning it out or picking it themselves. And then even with the
this.
Diablo here,
This is like a flip.
yeah, and at the same time Hurricane picking up the Nubarak. So they're kind of switching characters here. I mean, Murky still has Zertul, but still picking up that Diablo, picking up the Vala. Maybe they think Hurricane has like a shallow pool hero wise, and they're thinking, we can take away their key heroes on each
Yeah,
player.
oh,
We're
that's
gonna have a
interesting.
stronger and stronger advantage.
Not a bad idea, but it is now time for the second bans in the draft. Currently, Sylvanas and Brightwing have been banned out. Do they prioritize one of the other big supports? Because Uther has been taken, it is going to be a Rhaegar ban, and then Kael'thas. They could really try to choke out supports from Murky if they want to do that, because three of the three best supports in the game off the table.
Yes, and I think that's where their strength lies at this point. I don't think the Vala is such a threat for Hurricane at
No.
right now, but taking the Diablo, I mean, it was their strongest, I would say, player last game
Yeah.
was that Diablo character. So I think that's a lot. And we're seeing the Johanna. I mean, I'm a big fan of Johanna. I think she's just a strong character right now,
This could be
all in
like
all.
the weirdest approach ever. Hurricane could go Malfurion here. They could actually just okay. They're gonna go with Zagar. They do want a big damage dealer. Gonna say they could really force
Yeah,
them into Lily Tassadar or something. But
something a little bit more painful, a little less secure healing wise.
right,
Um, will Murky go like the formerly comp again? Okay, Lily. I mean,
Lily and Gazlo. We're
wow,
seeing
Caslo.
Gazlord in a tournament. This is gonna be excellent.
Little
Okay,
shout out to Kim Fond. She's a big Gazlo player, or she used to be. I
well,
don't know if she still is, but she used to be a big Gazlo player.
so here's the really 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 awesome fun thing. This is one of the most old school strats in the book. If you can nail down a big void prison and follow that with the Gravo bomb, pulling everyone in, line that up with Apocalypse from Diablo, and then either Strafe of Reign of Vengeance from Vala, the Wombo is so ridiculous and beautiful. So
Yeah,
I think that's what
if
they're going
that's a
for.
big
It's
if,
hard to do.
but
It's hard to do.
if you do, I mean, that's gonna be like the easiest team fight ever. Basically, just gonna be pressing those keys down, and it's all over from there. So it's gonna be more about I feel when Hurricane goes to engage, they're gonna need to be more spread out, or they're gonna need to pick people.
Right.
If they go into like a small choke and they let Murky just tee off on them with all those wombo combos, it's going to be really really hard because they have the AOE in these fights. They're going to have more control. And Hurricane's just especially with the Illidan, he wants to get in there and he wants to do damage. But if he's perma stunned for 6 seconds,
He
you
can't do
know
much.
he's gonna drop. He's gonna drop hard.
But they do have the Maw. That is a potential response. Um, I think the teams are just kind of figuring out what heroes they're actually playing because I'm looking at the screen now. It's a bit there's Diablos on both teams, and that's a bit weird.
Yeah, that would not work. That would not work to say the least. But I'm happy. I'm happy with these picks so far. It's exciting to say the least, and it's going to be more importantly how they're played and how they play out.
Yeah. Okay. Looks like the teams are ready. I have given them the go-ahead. I'll press that ready button. 10 out of 10 ready to go. Huck, are you ready for the two?
I'm my body is ready, man. I'm very excited for this match.
It's gonna be fun. Now, Illidan Paired with Uther, that is a very classic combo in modern Heroes of the Storm. The Divine Shield to help just buy that extra time that Illidan needs to heal himself up, especially when he's in his demonic form.
Yeah, and what like even an Abathur pick maybe would have worked. I mean, we're seeing that more and more with Abathur coming back into trend, especially in NA with Zeratul or an Illidan. But I think Abathur being slightly harder character to play as well. What would you say about that?
Abathur has definitely got a higher skill ceiling because you have to make sure that you're keeping your body in check. Essentially, Abathur is constantly not in his own body, but he's vulnerable. He sits on
Yeah.
the hat on top of other heroes, and you also have to have very good map awareness. And if you don't have a background in a game like StarCraft or something of the like,
It's a little bit harder to
you're
keep
not
track.
used to like watching the map constantly. You're used to just
Yeah.
kind of focusing on the screen, and it's a different aspect, a different element that a lot of players just aren't used to right away.
Yeah, different kind of mechanic. But nah, I still like the Uther. Uther's very strong, as you said, and it's just going to be more of I want to see 1-1 personally. You know, I want to
Yeah,
see us go to that third game, and yeah,
it's a
because
dream.
we've seen it kind of go back and forth, especially in the pick ban phase. I feel like Hurricane has a better chance this game if they don't fall behind. They need to not fall behind, but because of that Sylvanas being taken out, you
Right.
know, Murky doesn't have as much presence in lane as they did last game. I feel.
Yeah, because I mean, Sylvanas just being able to push a single lane by herself for honestly like a minute and a half was just such a
Rough.
massive advantage. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
They
just
just got that level advantage, plus they stayed on par with the objectives, and then it just kind of kept going from there.
all right, guys. Well, game number 2 is loaded up. The teams Murky versus Hurricane. We have Hurricane currently up, or no, down 1-0. See if I hit the right button here. Give a point to Murky. Yeah.
They deserved it. They deserved it for sure.
And of course, this is Murky on the blue side with Bluefish on Zeratul. Peg is going to be on Lily. It's going to be Fiersma on Diablo in iPros. Playing Vala. Rounding up the team, that's Gazlord, played by Blight.
Gas Lord. Yeah, that's going to be the most exciting part, like how this Gazlo is going to play out. I mean, Gazlo being a very strong hero, even to merc with almost, but just so fragile. So very, very fragile if you can catch him out of position.
He's really interesting on this map in particular, and we do see that currently he's speccing into the extra TNT. So this is really already a sign of that wombo combo potential that could exist, because most Gazlos would get the scrap metal, the reduced cooldown on all your abilities, really speccing more into the turrets and having more turrets on the battlefield.
Yeah, and turrets just being such a strong deterrence to setting up around important objectives
Yeah.
or just positions in general. And this map is a little choky. I mean, you're going to be constantly checking into that hidden area where people are turning in gems and trying to contest it, making sure the other team doesn't get to deposit.
Oh, but we do see that Layden is getting quite low. The flip is there, and Diablo has the body blocks. We do see iPros even moving forward. Some really convincing positioning here by the blue team.
Yeah, and I mean, it's only level 1, so it's not a huge advantage, but still, psychologically, you're already picking off members, they're not going to get to soak top, and they're just constantly roaming 4 members.
Look at
Mid
these
to top,
body
mid to top.
blocks every
Yeah,
time.
Mechanically, Murky just seemed to be on point both games.
I'm impressed, man. They're looking quite good. And Gazlo in the bottom lane. We do have the specialist v specialist battle happening right now. Zagara can creep up nicely to have just A, the vision, B, the regen, and C, movement speed, but Gazlo does not care.
Yeah, with those turrets, Gazlo's not... I mean, Zagara is such a strong laner in general, especially with the Hydralisk ability, but the turrets kind of negate that in a lot of ways. You can just zone back. It's just really going to be about top and mid. I expect the bottom to be a draw, and hopefully Hurricane can maintain their position and stop getting picked out so much.
Yeah, but they're really not really that far behind. Having those 2 deaths early on doesn't make that big of a difference. The early takedowns experience is there, but it's more about the lane presence. And as long as they rotate to soak their lanes, they're going to be in a good spot.
Yeah, and it's going to be a lot easier on this map too. I mean, Sky Temple is very spread out. This map, quite a bit smaller. You can get from lane to lane within, 10 seconds. And specialist or specialist battle here, I feel like they're just going to continue to trade. Zagara's going to want to push the lane, and Gazlo's just going to try to maintain that evenness with the turrets.
Yeah, and so far it looks like he's doing a nice job there, but we see the rotations constantly. This 4-man squad of Team Murky. They're just rotating around trying to pick off Layden, or if Trippy and Ross, they push too far forward, they will in fact be the target.
Yeah, and Murky's going to get picked here, almost getting that Nubarak. But it does look like Zagara is going to get the deposit. And on top of that, it's just feels like in general Murky just has the tempo again. Once again, they're rotating from lane to lane, and Hurricane meanwhile is just trying to hold on. They're trying to defend, not get picked off, but they don't have as many options just because, you know, Murky's side, they have that Vala, they have that Lily, they have the range to kind of push in these short lanes where the turrets are so close to where the creeps are spawning. And, you know, as long as you can soak as Hurricane, you're going to be okay. You know, they're slightly behind, maybe a quarter of a level. But as soon as this wave pushes up to the tower, they're going to be 5.
Yeah, all things considered, they're really making the best out of this. They're playing very passively. Leaving Johanna alone is the absolute correct decision because she's going to be completely safe. And they're making sure they stay together, not ever really pushing too far out, just collecting those gems. And they do already have 19 turn in at this point in time, 28 able for 29 for them to turn in, 22 on the other side. Both teams, they have just about enough for the complete turn in.
Yeah, and that's where it's going to come into play. Like, can they defend? Is there going to be a big battle in these deposit areas? I mean, both teams don't want the other one to deposit, but engagement-wise, I feel like it's going to be a lot harder for Hurricane to get in there and pick a fight.
They have the potential if Johanna and Nubarak do go in together at once, but it will be very tough. The Burrow Charge to escape this will be a full disengage. We see that Hydralisk just kind of chasing Blight back, but they are getting those gems turned in, and Blight has enough just by himself, and it looks like he will get the first summon on Weber. No, the Hydras, or the Roaches.
Roaches.
Yeah, you
little
know those
sacks that drops. Yeah. He's just trying to buy time. I think inevitably it's probably going to be too hard. Oh, and Illidan
but those turrets.
Really risky play there. Just tanking way too much damage.
Oh man, walking into those turrets and then getting flipped into them. That is disastrous. Of course, Gazlow's power is fighting in one area, and if you fight on his terms, it is never favorable.
And exactly what we were talking about, just Gazlow's strength being to protect those, you know, there's only 2 turn-in points, and if you can set up in one of them, you're never going to want to engage into those turrets, especially if you're only throwing in one person, and it being Illidan, nonetheless, or Zagara.
Right, that's rough. Well, we do see a full level lead has been taken and the Web Weavers have been summoned. This is going to give a large amount of tempo to the side of Murky, and they are pushing forward with them.
Yeah, and they just have a lot of DPS behind in this Vala, and then at the top lane, even Zeratul, bottom lane, Gazlow with his turrets, they just kill creeps so much quicker, and, you know, they can do a lot of damage.
Oh, the laser almost reached Mouse there as he escapes on Illidan, I believed for a moment. And it's actually really cool to think about Gazlow on this map just because setting up these turrets while you have the Web Weavers, that's just so many things to think about at once. And banning on Sylvanas makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, Sylvanas is obviously a strong pick on a lot of maps, but especially this one. And it's just, I don't know. Are we, like, do you think Gazlow is, like, could actually be a regular pick on this map? I feel like the turrets help so much in just controlling the 2 depository areas.
More so than any other map in the game, I think his strengths are probably here, Sky Temple. I'm really interested to see Gazlow in the new map coming out, the Diablo 3 map, but Mouse getting quite low.
Yeah, I feel like this Illidan's being caught out of position a little too much, and Diablo's just capitalizing it every time. Every time he gets out, he gets thrown into the back. And Illidan's just not being supported by his team, and then on top of that, just not coordinating well. You know, I feel like their strength, Hurricanes, is to, you know, play for the late game. You know, make sure that Illidan can hit the later levels where he really shines. And right now, he's just not doing that. You know, he's getting caught constantly, and all of a sudden, it's level 10 versus level 8 again. And Hurricane's going to have to hold on. They need to reach late game, mid game on more even terms than they did last game.
Yeah,
they're going to get a lot of gems here deposited, and they're actually going to be able to drop the Weaver if they can get it, and they do get it.
That's a
and
big
now they're
deal.
just going to be looking to not take a head-on-head engage 4v4 right now. They need to find an advantage somewhere, or they need to catch up.
And this is actually a very smart play, but they could be punished for this. When the Web Weavers do spawn, all mercenaries will go away unless they've already been started. And we actually see that both teams have the same exact idea. Using Gazlow to pick up the blue bruisers, we see the red ones will be picked up in just a moment, but they still need 10.
Yeah, and Johanna's still pushing up north. Hopefully, by the end of the session, this little Web Weaver push, they can reach 10. They're going 5-man strong for this Johanna, or just cleaning up the Web Weaver in general, because Johanna is such a hard character to take down.
Yeah, but with this big wave in the middle lane, they're going to push towards that level 10 very quickly. The wave will dissipate rather quickly, but the rotation from blue team is there, and that is a big Void Prison Hook.
And the Wombo combo indeed, catching a lot of the... Wow! Just destroyed, not going for the Apocalypse, but Fire Breath.
I,
Fire
I
Breath.
I love the pickup on Lightning Breath. You know, Apocalypse can work. That was the more traditional one, but Lightning Breath has such a short cooldown, and if you go for battle momentum, which he did in fact do, he's going to have that off cooldown so very frequently.
Yeah, I tend to agree. And they're just cleaning up creep. All in all, very good defense. I mean, the Web Weaver's not really doing that much damage. They immediately went to top, cleaned it up, immediately went to middle. Didn't even miss that much, you know, soaking either.
No.
They got there just in time, and they're just rotating. They're using the map. You know, there's such a short distance between each lane. They go down to a lane, clear it, go to the middle, clear it, go to the top, clear it, and they're just constantly taking engagements, you know, over members. Sagara's getting thrown in the back. Illidan's going to jump in there. This is going to be a sloppy engagement, but it looks like Anubarak's going to get on top of them. There's a lot of stunts going down actually on Blue Murky, and Hurricane might actually take this fight, getting on top of Gazlo, but can they take him down? Illidan going deep and getting caught out, stunned, and destroyed.
Yeah, well, Diablo once again had that Lightning Breath. He has enough souls, so he will respawn instantly, but that will, of course, cost him all of his souls. Really wasn't a bad fight on the side of Hurricane. The only thing is that Maw completely whiffing, completely missing the mark. Just a bit of a sloppy engagement for the side of Hurricane.
Yeah, Hurricane was so close to taking down a few members there. But if they can get another engagement like that, it's definitely possible that they could win. I mean, that was 4v4. They had the opportunity.
Yep, they did. But here's the thing. Murky has got the Web Weavers once more, and they've already weakened these forts significantly. Bottom fort gonna fall rather quickly to the Giants and Web Weaver push, and of course they're gonna march and win that. In the middle lane is also quite low.
And they're just controlling the game really well. They just finished that that camp at the bottom. They're 5 members strong. They're committing to these pushes. They give up the other 2 lanes, and you know, Murky's just controlling it so well. And Hurricane, you know, when they had their Web Weavers up, they got cleaned up. They didn't even take down a fort.
It's true. It's true, but I like this call to just keep pushing in. They have the Gazlo. They're going to set up these turrets, just A for safety, B just to have this extra push. And they're forcing a hand.
Yeah, we need to see Johanna really get in there, land a lot of stuns. I mean, they throw down an ult, they get one weaved, but it's only Lily, and they're not ready to commit. There's just too much creep. There's too many... Oh! Johanna getting thrown back.
She used her heroic to get out of that situation. The heals come out, she taps the well, and that was a nice maw, but once again, the follow-up was a little bit too little too late. A beautiful VP Gravel Bomb going down, connecting with 2 targets. Rain of Vengeance just wreaking havoc on them, and Mouse will be the 3rd takedown in favor of Murky.
What a wombo combo. That is how you set it up. Everything went textbook good for Blue Murky. I mean, the VP setting it up, Illidan using his ult at the same time, being completely sectioned off from his team, getting picked off, and then on top of that, just beautiful 1-2-3 combo from Blue Murky. I mean, like, if I wanted to teach somebody how to do that, I would use this exact exact pod, and just link it, and they're like, this is how you engage. This is how you play from now on.
I'm excited to watch more of Murky because their play is refined. Like, they know what they're doing. They're not using their heroics like just sporadically. They're really lining everything up nicely. And even the body blocks there, we saw that one of the heroes was about to escape. We saw Zeratul just blink in, specifically A, damage, but B, to get in his path and keep him there.
Yeah, mechanically, they're just a solid team. And I think, like I said, this is one of the teams that we might not know too much about, but I could definitely see making that round of 8, possibly upsetting, you know, a top-tier team.
I'd have to agree with you, Huck. They're looking quite good, but the game is not over yet. Yes, a keep has gone down, so that means catapults will continue to spawn in the bottom lane, but there's a nice position here for Hurricane, and they are going in, forcing Bluefish back, trying to keep the presence on the map in favor of them, but Divine Shield used very early in this fight.
Yeah, Johanna really trying to get in there and set up an engagement, but it's really hard at this point. Another VP getting down, catching 3 members. Sagara countering with her own heroic and capturing, but Illidan just going down so quick every single fight.
Yeah, without that Divine Shield, it's hard to get the efficiency out of the Illidan in this kind of fight. But man, those turrets are everywhere already, and they are committed to this push on the top fort.
Yeah, and they have enough creeps here just to keep pushing. And they just have the damage. I mean, Vala can constantly tee off safely from the backline. Gazlo can just set up turrets. It's like a secondary point they can always retreat to. And Diablo's just getting in their face, constantly throwing members back and forth.
Oh, the cups do come out in a massive Gravel Bomb Lightning Breath combo. We do see the Unstoppable coming up for Johanna. She's going to have to use her Rogue to escape 46 gems. She collected pretty much all of her fallen allies' gems, and that's a pretty big deal in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, there's just combos of stuns. Even the Vala's Reign of Vengeance coming down there, getting, you know, an extra 2 or 3 members. Everything just lines up perfectly. I really wonder who's doing the shot calling on that team to line these ults up so perfectly.
I know Bluefish is in fact their captain, so I'm going to give him the credit for the time being, but I could be completely and totally wrong, and I'll accept it. But the middle fort will fall, and that is the final fort remaining for Hurricane.
Yeah, and they have level 16 against level 13 advantage again. It's once again on Hurricane's shoulders to kind of fight back here, climb that mountain, and make something happen. It's just... they don't even necessarily need a shot caller. If you're an experienced player and you see that VP go down, you know what's going to happen. You know you have that timing down, and you just set it up perfectly as Gazlo has been doing, as Vala has been doing, and you're going to land everything. I mean, there's just so much damage if you hit that wombo combo.
It's gross.
I don't feel like Hurricane's, you know, spreading out enough, disengaging, or getting the proper position to overcome that obstacle.
They've got the right idea of trying to respond with Maw and the web wrap, but the synergy, the
timing's not
yeah,
clicking.
exactly.
The timing is not clicking at all. And Zertal's going to go pretty deep here and just immediately blow up Zagara.
Wow.
And on top of that, once again, Diablo getting on a Nubarak, taking him down, chunking him down, and now all of a sudden their engager can't really get in there anymore. Gazlo kind of showing off with the little laser, you know, flick of the wrist, man, flick of the wrist.
Well, he's doing it, and it looks like they're going to push in to eliminate this middle keep. That will put 2 keeps down. We do see Illidan getting quite low, forcing out that first aid. He is going to retreat back to base, and Diablo knocking back Johanna, using the heroic once again completely in defense.
Yeah, every single time they're getting engaged on Murky, just setting it up perfectly. And, you know, Hurricane's just using so many of their heroic abilities to escape, to disengage, not setting it up, not being on the offensive, and it's just letting, you know, Murky more and more get ahead. And the Zertal just not afraid.
He is.
He knows his team's there. They're playing exactly how you need to play in a tournament like this. You know, they're setting the standard for themselves, and they're setting like not only for this match, but you know, for the rest of the day.
Right.
They have to be going into the match very confident.
And look at this. They've already got 36 gems turned in, 27 still on the table.
Johanna with 57.
Yeah, that's a lot. She wants to turn those in. Will she succeed? No, we do see Lily will be able to interrupt, but I don't know if they can make this happen. They're still down 3 levels, Huck.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost make or break again. Illidan just constantly getting blown up. He's not supported by his team, and he's going way too deep. Anubarak getting a good stun. They could set this up, but they need to get on Vala. They need to catch out Zertal, and they need to get on Gazelle. They can't be engaged on. And they just don't have it right now. Illidan already chunked down to what? He has 30% health.
And Divine Shield was used once he was back behind enemy lines, so that heroic once again gonna be a cooldown. Another set of Web Weavers will be summoning. The bottom lane already completely pushed out. Catapults in mid and bottom. This is gonna be a very tough defense.
Yeah, and Nubarak just having to use abilities constantly to escape, and they know they're at the bruisers, and they go for the VP. Catch 2 members. Here comes the setup. Can they land everything they need to? Johanna getting the background. Reign of Vengeance coming down. It's sloppy. Gazlo's ult going down as well. Big stuns. And it just looks like there isn't enough.
Yeah, the level advantage is a bit too much, and those wombos in the close corridors are devastating. Gravel Bomb alone is crazy, but you throw a Reign of Vengeance on top, and the damage is real. But they have defended most of the Web Weavers, but we're losing a Nubarak there. This is going to be tough.
Yeah, 4 members down. You're already pushing towards the main base, and it's just, there's so much damage. That level advantage, as you said, 19 to 15, they have a lot of damage here, and Zagara's just might not be enough.
Yeah, I don't know if it will be. The core is falling rather quickly. I think that's going to be a 2-0 victory in favor of Team Murky. Congratulations, they'll be advancing to the round of 64.
Yeah, and they're just feeling themselves right, man. Look at their names, all blinking, all lit up, all that lightning, so beautiful.
Of course, the takedown streak, the signal that you are in fact
dominating.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't like a close game, but I feel like there was opportunities for Hurricane.
Yeah.
But they were too busy getting engaged on the whole time. You know, they were using all their abilities to disengage, and it wasn't like a disengage to re-engage. It was just disengage, run, retreat. We're giving this up. We can't contest it. We can't do anything here. And I mean, Murky, mechanically, from like not only the engagements and the wombo combos, but the simple things, like you said, those body blocks, those rotations. They really showed that they were the team that deserved to make it out today. And I would look to them, like I said, to possibly be able to compete with those top tier teams that are the favorites.
I really think they have a high potential to make it all the way through to the round of eight because their play, I mean, the synergy was there. And I'm looking at their bracket now. That was, in fact, Hurricane versus Murky Free Week. Murky will advance to face Tailwind. Now, Tailwind is a Canadian team. I don't know a lot about them, but I'm looking through the bracket. If they do